Purpose Youth, welcome to Friday Night Youth. And so tonight is both youth and I wish we could be together, but I'm not letting anything get me down because this weather is so good. But it's also Wilderness Part 2, and tonight's title is Miracles in the Mess. So as unpleasant as the wilderness experience is, and it is unpleasant, it is uncomfortable and can often be disheartening, I think it's really important to acknowledge the miracles that happen in the mess of the wilderness. So a very cheesy example would be, as much as I fear lions, and I do, they are scary, but it's put it into perspective when I've had the great blessing of being able to have ridden an elephant twice, once when I was very young and once when I was not that much older. And being the fear and presence of a lion is really, it's quite scary. Even though you're in the vehicle, we don't just walk around free with lions. It's still, you drive away with this absolute awe at how powerful they are, especially if you've seen a lion hunting, which I have. It's insane what they do, how quickly they can kill an animal. And then when you hear the roar, it is so powerful and confident. You actually have a lot of respect for a lion afterwards, even though it's a scary experience. But when I've been allowed to ride an elephant, fear from the wild it goes away. It's worth it because it's such an incredible experience. They are such big, beautiful creatures. I mean, I'm not much bigger than the size of a trunk of an elephant, and that's just their nose. So it's a small price to pay being scared of lions when you have the incredible experience of being able to ride the elephant. So today's scripture that I want to reference is when the Israelites were rescued from Egypt. There are 4, I'd say, big miracles we usually think about. So, or at least I do. So I think about how it was a miracle that Pharaoh released the Israelites, initially speaking, because they were enslaved and they'd been enslaved for so many years. And then the second miracle is the one we probably colored in pictures of at Sunday school, and that's when the Lord parted the Red Sea. Then food for the slaves during the desert. This one resonates with me because if you've ever been to a desert, you understand how incredible it is to have food and water because there isn't food and water. And then the last one is when the Israelites actually entered the promised land and God's promise was fulfilled. But there were actually 15 really big miracles that were documented while the Israelites were in the wilderness. And just because they don't seem as significant in the big picture, it doesn't mean they aren't impressive, really big miracles. So the ones that I want to speak about just very quickly, I'm just going to list them, is that Moses got water. When he struck a rock, water came from it in Exodus 17 verse 2 to 6. Water came from a rock. Can you fathom that? Walking up to a rock and kicking it or hitting it or standing on it or jumping on it, and water came from it. Then wind brought quail when the Israelites asked God for meat because they were tired of eating manna. So God just brought this wind, and on it were quail, which are these small birds. So the Israelites had meat. That was in Numbers 11 verse 31, which is crazy. And then in Numbers 16 verse 19 to 35, the ground actually opened up and swallowed someone whole. I know it's a saying we say when we're really embarrassed. I've said it many times. It's quite a big cliche actually to say, I'm so embarrassed, I wish the ground would just swallow me whole right now. But the ground actually opened and took someone into it. That's how incredible. Just think about how incredible that miracle is. So for the Israelites, for them it was really difficult. I can't imagine living in a tent in a desert for 40 years. And it must have felt like that miracle was taking really long to come. And that can be the same for you when you're in secondary school and you just aren't having a good time, or you're bored of it, or not everything seems to make sense to you. It's very easy to get into that mindset where you can't wait for university to start or college, because then things are going to get better. But often when we are so busy waiting for the next big miracle, the next big thing to happen, even waiting for your life to feel like it's really started, waiting for God to show up in your life, we miss those small miracles that are in between. Another example, like a very good example that I want to use is we often want our own bedrooms because we have a younger sibling that's irritating. For me, I was the irritating younger sibling, so I got my own bedroom very soon because my sisters wanted their own bedroom. But for someone I was at school with, she lived in a one-bedroom house, so it was a one-room house. The whole room, kitchen, bathroom, everything was in one room with over 10 other family members. When she got her own room, it meant that she'd finished school, and she was one of the few people in her family to actually finish high school. She went on to study at a tertiary education and became self-sufficient to the point where she could have not only her own room. So for her, her own room meant success and hard work and this massive blessing. So when we want our own room, it's not a small miracle. It's just small in perspective because it's a small thing in our life in comparison to someone else's. So the small victories and the small blessings, the small miracles in the mess of this wilderness experience are still miracles. We just need to acknowledge them. And this will help us appreciate the moments between the big moments. Miss you lots, Purpose Youth. Have a good week. Bye.